Welcome into the Gaming Discourse. I'm Tyler Frater alongside Richard De La Cruz.
Hello.
And Chief Engineer, Lieutenant Commander Connor Frater.
Good afternoon.
It is Monday, January 22nd, 2024. Heyo, follow us on Twitter and Facebook at The Gaming Discourse. Go to our YouTube channel, YouTube/Gaming Discourse, Patreon.com/The Gaming Discourse. You can support us for $247, $10. Get your name in the video credits, early access to our videos, access to our Discord server, and more. Okay, we have news this week. Yay! News is starting to roll. The year's starting to go on.
It's already crazy.
We already have. Have you played the new? I assume it's on your must playlist. The new Prince of Persia.
Oh man, yeah, I've been waiting for that game ever since I saw it, but I haven't played it.
Haven't played it. Okay, because that's getting a lot of good reviews.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to hear your thoughts on it because I know that's like your favorite genre.
Yes.
2D. I don't know if it stays 2D the whole time, but like side-scrolling Metroidvania.
It's much like Metroid Dread. It's 2D, but there are sequences of like camera angles that make it like 3D. But
awesome. Okay. Alrighty, and then Connor, why don't you start off wearing a crisp Yankees jersey? Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Right off the presses.
Yeah.
A little jealous, not gonna lie.
You should be.
What have you been playing?
I've just been playing through more of Stardew Valley. I meant to start playing up Resident Evil 2, the remake, again, because I never fully went through it when it came out, and I just got busy today, so wasn't able to get to it.
Okay.
But next week.
How far did you get in Resident Evil 2?
Oh, like 20 minutes in.
Okay, 20 minutes in.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's just when it gets good.
Yeah, it's literally like walking into the door and Leon talks with the cop and then you're there. Mm-hmm. So you have not met Richard. You need to open that when the podcast starts.
Sorry.
You need to open that. That's got to be your. No,
But I'm thirsty.
I'm not angry that the mic's going to pick it up. I'm angry that the mic's not going to pick it up loud enough.
But I'm thirsty now.
Okay.
Fuck you, Tyler.
Connor's going to have to edit that in the audio so we can pick up a coffee. I almost said beer. Coffee. We don't drink. Don't drink, kids.
I don't. Yeah.
No, what was I going to say?
Much.
But you know about Mr. X.
Yeah.
Okay, because I think still the Mr. X intro and
I have it on good authority that he's going to give it to you.
Resident Evil 2 is still like one of the
phonetics. Just phonetically, just like bark.
See,
sorry.
when you guys talk music, I don't know any of the jokes. I'm assuming that's a music reference.
DMX, yeah.
X gonna give it to you.
All I know was DMX the guy.
You've heard the song. You had to have heard.
I know the song, but it's like I don't know. I can't make sense of music references. Who was it that was in one of the Triple X movies? Was that Ice Cube?
Yes,
yeah.
Ice Cube.
Okay, so that and Ice Cube is not DMX.
No.
DMX was usually in movies that involved Jet Li.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, interesting. I wasn't even sure if DMX acted. I just remember there was like a rapper in one of the Triple X movies. Okay. Anyway. All right, Richard, what have you been playing?
I've been playing Pal World.
Nice.
Yeah. It's fun.
You and the rest of the world, apparently.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, no, I when the first trailer came out years ago, it was one of those like, that looks silly. It looks fun and silly. And of course, it was out on Game Pass. And I was already going to... but before the explosion, I already was like, oh yeah, I got to give it a shot. I always wanted to because it just looked like silly fun. Of course, the explosion happened of interest, and so yeah, I hopped onto it yesterday for X amount of hours, and I'm having a fun time with it. It's not what people think, at least from the outside, or from what people like to regurgitate online. It is more Ark and Rust than it is Pokemon, what some people are alluding to.
Well, that is until you install the Pokemon mods.
Yeah, that is until you say, install the Pokemon mods. But it's kind of one of those things where it's like the creatures are supplemental to the world.
Okay.
And not necessarily, you probably could operate. No, actually, no, you can't. You have to have pals. I'm going to call them pals from now on. You have to have pals in your base in order to operate specific things smoothly.
To like automate stuff.
Yeah. Not only automate stuff, but to level up your PAL area. So, of course, when you start out, you're in a new world, and you start a new world just like Minecraft would. You name your world. You choose if you wanted to have it public or if you want to have it private. And you join in, and of course you are bare. There's nothing else but like loincloths, and so you gotta hit some. You gotta hit some trees. You gotta do some stuff. Slave labor. You gotta hit some trees, do some stuff. But one of the first objectives they give you is to create a like PAL station, and that is your essential perimeter of like where your safety net essentially. Gotcha. And so from there, you will start to be given tutorial quests like, hey, level up your XP by catching 20 different pals, or catch 5 of the same pal, or this and that. As you level up your pal area, you also get technology stats to where each tier of level will give you different things that you can build. Of course, you start out with a wooden stick, and then so I can get a pickaxe, so I can get an axe, I can get a parachute.
And then you work your way all the way up to like assault rifles.
Yeah. Which are not until a lot later. I think I'm only level 8 as like a player, but I think you don't get your first handgun until like level 25. I read.
Oh wow. Yeah. Okay, so a while. All right.
But even then, as of now, I'm having a lot of fun running around and being in the same vicinity as like little tiny creatures running around. So some of them are docile and they'll just kind of hang around, like chickens are docile, or well, I don't know what they're called exactly, but they're obviously chickens. And they're kind of docile, but like other creatures such as like the cat-like creatures or the fox-like creatures will see you and they'll like scurry away unless you can like shoot them first, and then you'll like stun them and be able to like run up on them and hit them until you can capture them. To which that point you will one of the first one I caught was like the sheep, the one with the machine guns that you saw. And so depending on what you have in your PAL base is like their specialty. So my sheep, whenever I start to build something, it'll drop whatever it's doing and like run over to the thing I'm building, and we'll start like hammering it, and we'll start building it for me. And it's like, oh, cool, great. And then when he's done, he'll like have like happy like emotions, and so you can pet him or you can kick him, whatever you want. I've not, no, you can't kick them, but you can pet them, whatnot. But you have to also navigate their happiness as well. Like if you don't have a bed for them, or if you don't have like food for them, they'll start to get like depressed or like more tired. You can't do anything.
Do you hate it when workers want beds and food?
Yeah, just standard things, living things, living creatures should
want. So inconvenient.
I've died a couple times going towards bigger, badder enemies, which some of them look cool, and of course the argument right now, some of them are very, very close.
Yeah, I've seen some images where it's literally they move like some puff somewhere on the and that does bother me a little bit.
Sure,
because the aesthetic doesn't bother me at all. You should copy aesthetics.
Absolutely.
And it was the same, we had the same discussion with Genshin Impact, right?
Also,
it's like Genshin
still from Nintendo.
Still from Nintendo, which is even better. But the same thing with like Genshin Impact, people complained about that it looked like Breath of the Wild, but it's like that's fine if you're doing your own thing. But a lot of the Pale World characters are like literally a couple shades and a couple shapes away from Pokemon.
Yeah, so absolutely. There are definitely ones where it's like, that could be problematic. But there are definitely a lot that are really neat as well. But already it's been a day and a half, and I'm very exhausted by the conversation online, especially from mostly the Pokemon fans side of everything. But it's just interesting because this is the only reason, and I'll just use the tidbit now. Over 5 million sold already of this game. 5 million copies sold. And a lot of people are wondering, a lot of the Pokemon fans are wondering why nobody gave the support to like games like Cassette Beasts or Nexomon or Monster Sanctuary, all these other games that are like Pokemon exactly.
I don't know, maybe if those games allowed you to put your pals on Browning 30 cal machine guns. Photorealistic Browning 30 cal.
Those are 50 cal.
Those are 50s,
Those are 50 cal machine guns.
There are two reasons. One is, the guns. It's absolutely the guns. It is a stupid, silly premise.
It's the juxtaposition of these cute sheep
Yeah.
With photorealistic weapons.
With angry eyes manning 50 caliber machine guns behind sandbags. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. First is the guns, but secondly, I think it's mostly comes from a standpoint of generally about like 60 to 70% of the people that I experience from being at my job and being asked for Pokemon games every day is these are people who grew up with Pokemon and are now adults, and they only want to play Pokemon. You can't exactly introduce a new child-centric collecting game like Pokemon to somebody who just wants to play Pokemon.
Sure.
Because it's not the same. They're not going to grasp onto it. So there's a lot of issues and angles with the conversation. But
who cares? Who cares? Fans are dumb. Every fan.
Yes.
If you're a fan of something, you're an idiot. Yes. All right, and that includes us. That includes everybody.
No. It's like Castlevania dunce hat. Right
there you go.
Fine, I'll take off my jersey.
But I think it's great, and I think it's fun, and it's sold so much because PC gamers love survival games.
Co-op doesn't hurt either.
No, co-op doesn't hurt, and of course it is that draw of what people want from the main series, the Pokemon series, just not presented to them like like those fans want nowadays. But I'm having some fun with it. I just wish I had more people to play with, like my other friends would have it, because I think it is just fun running around and kind of screwing around with these creatures and mining and building stuff. It is a neat little time.
I have a month. I got a month free of Xbox Game Pass, so maybe I'll install it. We can shoot Pikachus together or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
hold on a second. Legally distinct, but similar to
Pikachus.
There's a Pokemon name, a pal. I think his name is Depresso. I don't know if you've seen him. But he walks around like, and he is like super depressed. But his animation, when you give him when you have him mine stuff, he sits there with one hand and just despite
I love him.
Yeah, despite how like close they may resemble some Pokemon, they all do have their own like unique animations and stuff like that.
Okay,
so.
yeah.
Anyways, yeah. He has like coffee themed attacks and stuff.
Interesting. Wow, there's all kinds. Yeah, that's the only thing that I would feel that I am like somewhat uncomfortable about. I'm fine with taking the visual art style of Pokemon, do whatever. But like a few of those things are almost one-to-one recreations where it's like, come on, be more creative, do something else, steal the art style. That's fine. If people are angry, and I think that's the only thing that is close to wrong that people may have like a reasonable reason to be upset with it. If every other reason, whether it's like, oh, this is copying Pokemon, or oh, I don't like it because all those reasons are nonsense. It's all nonsense.
Yeah, no, there's tons of other games to be. I mean, one of the better examples of Vampire Survivors is like plenty of Castlevania stuff I could point at and be like, hey, what the deal? But it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, it was something unique, something fun, something that I wasn't getting from from Castlevania, from the other series, which I know they're completely different games, but same idea. But
I think probably a lot of people, and I think this may show demand. I don't know, that people would love like bigger, more dynamic Pokemon games on systems that aren't a Nintendo console. I don't know. That is sacrilege to some people, and to those people I say, get over it. I don't know. It doesn't mean you can't have it, but there are other markets out there that Pokemon games could be delivered to. How many Pokemon games have been released on wider consoles? I don't know.
Like actual consoles, because it's all been handheld up until Switch.
Has there ever been a Pokemon game on PC before?
No. Gosh, I mean, there's fan mods, and stuff like that. Yeah, which Nintendo usually promptly shuts down. And there was actually a Pokemon streamer on Twitter today that was kind of going at the people complaining about Pow World, and it's just like, look, like Nintendo tells me to stop playing Pokemon games. Like, they don't support like us because they don't agree. Like, they shut down Smash Brothers tournaments. It's like
Nintendo doesn't care about its community. It's like Nintendo cares about its own IPs and its own and guarding its own financial.
Yeah, they frame it as protecting their IPs, but it's also
but money. At the end of the day, they don't really care about their fans, a lot of companies out there. Okay, sorry. Anything else?
No, it's a fun time. I don't know how long it'll stay around. It depends on how much they support it. But yeah, fun time. $30 is a great price for it. It's probably why it's selling so well also.
Yeah, good point.
That's all I've been playing.
Okay, so I have been playing a couple things. I have a review coming out soon, maybe the end of this week, of Horizon Call of the Mountain.
Oh, that's right.
If you're really looking forward and you really want to play the game, I've got good news and bad news, and it's the same thing. It's not that great. I'll have more detailed thoughts in the review, hopefully soon. But to summarize it, basically, the visuals are awesome. Seeing the machines in VR is really cool. You see a lot of the machines that you see in the game. At the very beginning of the game, a tall neck, I think that's the name, walks over you, and and it's a very, like, I don't know,
Jurassic Park,
like, it's a very that's Jurassic Park type moment. So the visuals are neat. The when you get into combat, seeing these machines, there's a term in VR called presence, which is where your perception of a game space moves away from like a 2D representation and into something where your brain can put it together like in a 3D space, right? And actually, there's a philosophy behind this, which I don't understand, called phenomenology, which I believe has to do with how humans perceive an object, but like subconsciously you think of it as a 3D object, right? So when you look at a building, your mind doesn't take in the flat image you see of the building, because in the reality that you live that the building has four walls or whatever, right? Yeah. So it's like video games do that, because even though you're watching on a 2D plane, you're playing a 3D, you're often playing a game with depth. So you kind of build a bridge there. VR enhances that because you're looking around with your head and all that stuff, right? Okay, so in Horizon Call of the Mountain, seeing all those machines like the Thunderjaw or Scrappers or even just Watchers, like seeing them jump, seeing how big they are compared to how tall you are, that's all fantastic. That's all really cool. And it's it's scary because you see a lot of their like talons up close and just how powerful and metallic and and intricate they are,
Yeah, that they're perceived to be.
Exactly. And it's the same feeling that I got if you went and played Alien Isolation in VR and you look up at the xenomorph for the first time and it's like how tall it is or whatever. So stuff like that, it nails that. But the game is just not very good. There's lots of climbing, and the climbing's not difficult. You follow paint on like mountainsides and stuff, but there's no difficulty or challenge to it. You're just climbing the whole time, and not the whole time, but large sections of the game. And you'll get tools like grappling hooks and stuff that you may have to swing across a gap, but there's no, when you swing or when you jump to reach a ledge, it's slow motion. So it's not that scary, or like you don't really have to time it all that much. So yeah, more details in the review, but I would recommend, if you ever find honestly, if you really wanted to play it, I would just say play mine. get to some of the combat, experience the combat and stuff. Maybe climb for a few minutes. It's a different main character. You're not playing as Aloy. You're playing as somebody else. The narrative is kind of underserved and not that great, so you're not missing a whole lot. But yeah, if you just wanted to like fight a couple robots or something, it could be a fun hour or so. The other game that I have started is A Plague Tale Requiem.
The sequel, right?
The sequel, yeah. So I picked that up through, I think it was one of the PlayStation Plus games for either this month or last month. And it's interesting so far. I enjoyed the first game. From where I am now, they seem to be leaning a little bit away from like the exaggeration. The rats are still, so the game is set during the Black Plague, right? 13, I think the year was the Black Plague 1300s. Connor, come on. Come on, Connor.
I said yeah.
That's right.
You're a monkey, Derek.
So I think it's like 1349 or something when the game is set. So it's set during the Black Plague, and so you've got rats and all this infestation and stuff. And the soldiers that you have to sneak around are not as... In the first game, they were all like... They were not straight up Blizzard-type enemies where they were super cartoony, but it was a little more exaggerated. This one, it seems to be a little more realistic, but I haven't played very far into the game. I will say that I admire, I think it's Asobo Studios. I admire the thought that goes into their writing, because there's so much dialogue between the characters that is there, and it comes across like they continuously think about, okay, what would people say realistically in this situation, right? And so there's like a bunch of little lines of dialogue. The characters are constantly talking. And I kind of like it. I could see that maybe some people wouldn't like it, because oftentimes in video games, when people keep talking, it's usually repetitive, or it's annoying, or it's distracting, or whatever. But the dialogue seems to flow really well, and it's little things like, I don't know, the rats will appear and they'll surround you, and your character will be like, oh, they're everywhere. What do we do? And then another character will, oh, look over there. And so as the characters are like working their way through a building or something, trying to figure out how to get to the other side, they'll be talking with one another. You know, they'll see a gate and they'll say, there's a gate over there. If I grab that over here, you know, so you can tell that they wanted to bring their characters to life and have them say things that weren't just directing the player to do something. It was also like giving dialogue to these characters that was natural, or things that they would say. And so, yeah, so far I'm liking it. Amicia, who's the main character, she has an upgrade tree, but the upgrade tree goes up naturally with your actions. So if you stealth around, there's like one skill tree that you level up on. If you attack dudes, there's another skill tree, and then there's a third skill tree. I'm not sure what that third skill tree is just yet, but I'm trying to go through as stealth as possible and upgrade that stealth skill tree. Oh man, and one thing I think that the game did a great job with was the beginning of the game, because you know the rats are going to appear at some point. Yeah. Because the rats are like the game's kind of like the game's villain in a sense. Mm-hmm. There's millions of them, but the game kind of treats their presence as like one thing. But the intro of the game, it builds up to the rats, which I thought was really, really cool. So as the game starts, the characters are like, where are they? How come we haven't seen any? They're pointing it out, they're indicating, and then it builds up to a really cool, Jaws type moment where the rats appear and all hell breaks loose and kind of thing. And so that I thought that, and it makes them really sinister too. The way that they talk about the rats, they say they're hunting us, or they're coming after us, or they know we're here. They talk about the rats as if the rats aren't animals, but like an evil force. I don't remember the game's lore. I know there's magic involved, and that the disease is not just like a disease. It has some kind of mystical element to it. But the way they talk about the rats, it really is like the rats they're like demonic somehow and evil, which I think makes it extra evil or extra creepy.
I mean, wouldn't that be kind of the thought process in that time as well?
Yeah. Yes. But
because it's like anything unnatural was demonic, was evil or demonic.
That maybe I guess what I was trying to say is that there
is an actual hive mind of some sort.
Yeah. Well, there's also literal magic in the game. So I don't know if that magic. I don't know if the lore somewhere that like someone infected those rats with evil
the
magic.
Yeah.
Right. So they may be literally evil in the sense that the game has like a like lore reason for them to be that way. I don't know. As opposed to them just being a force of nature that they then call evil. Right. I don't know. Okay. We'll hit the ad and get to the news. Thanks for listening. If you like our content, please consider subscribing or leaving a like and comment. You can find us at patreon.com/thegamingdiscourse. And our tiers are $2, $4, $7, and $10 and include getting your name in the video credits, early access, and access to our Discord server.
Yeah.
The possibilities for PAL-human combat is just endless. It's just endless. Okay. Usually I talk about news here, but I didn't have my notes open. Now my notes are open. Ubisoft wants you to get comfy not owning games. This is in an interview with GamesIndustry.biz. Felipe Tremblay, Ubisoft's director of subscriptions, spoke about Ubisoft's subscription services. At one point, he said, quote, One of the things we saw is that gamers are used to, a little bit like DVD, having and owning their games. That's the consumer shift that needs to happen. They got comfortable not owning their CD collection or DVD collection. That's a transformation that's been a bit slower to happen in games. As gamers grow comfortable in that aspect, I still have 2 boxes of DVDs. I definitely understand the gamer's perspective with that. But as soon as people embrace that model, they will see that these games will exist, the service will continue, and you'll be able to access them when you feel like. That's reassuring. A little bit later, he said, quote, For me, whenever we publish a game, the first thing I do is stream it and play a couple of minutes. I don't have to download it. I can jump right in. Streaming enables fast discovery. That's the first thing we are seeing from a consumer perspective, end quote. Okay, I butchered those quotes, but points got across. What do we think about this? As one of our biannual Ubisoft exec says something stupid, which seems to happen every 6 months. One of those guys rolls the dice. Uh-huh. What do we think?
So if we take a look at like how streaming has like been implemented in other industries, I'm not trying to compare. We're just gonna take a look at how streaming has worked. Streaming is bad for musicians. Streaming is bad for consumers when it comes to movie and TVs. So there's 2 bad things. Where's the good? Convenience. That's it. And streaming games is inconvenient, especially if you have like spotty internet. So also you can't really, compare a 250 gigabyte game being streamed to a 5 megabyte song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially when you have games like we'll take the newest Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 3, for example. It has that proprietary front end that it uses for you to select your different Call of Duty games they tacked onto it. Yeah. You can't expect to keep up with that. There is that, and that's the convenience part is the crux of everything, because that is the reason why we're in a lot of these positions. The reason why Spotify is so ubiquitous with music and detrimental is because the ease of just there it is, I can find it, play it. But the hurdle is the internet, like we always talk about. The last couple times I've done this, I've been doing the podcast, I've been doing remote because I work at a farther location, so it takes longer to get here. There have been a couple times where I'm like, man, I could just do the show from my store and it would look cool as a back end and everything. But I know the internet sucks there. And I know that I can't reliably use it to, to make that happen. And so there's discussions a lot when it comes to streaming music, streaming movies, is that you don't get the maximum bit rate that it can read from a physical media.
Yeah.
And that's important because resolution will take a hit or quality will take a hit just overall. I think that in the future, these things, much like all other media out there, are going to coexist with each other in some way, shape, or form. I think that gaming is a little more volatile, though, and I think that the attraction of having a physical item is going to be converted into profit instead, which we're kind of seeing with limited run games.
Sure,
and limited run games, and I think VGP is what they're called now. And it's kind of the case in other countries, particularly Japan and Korea, where music is still very large physical media, but they package it all of these like really neat extras. So you end up paying a slightly more premium. Yeah. They're very, very nice packages, but we may see things like heading towards that if you want a physical copy.
Yeah.
I think they're going to side with the people who decide to not want the physical copy compared to people that do. And the people who do want physical copy, you're going to end up paying more of a premium, which sucks. But yeah, it seems like a lot of these execs are on board with trying to shove the old way out and then bring the new stuff in. Yeah. And one more point. No, unless they find a new physical medium that can hold much more data for less cost, yes, go into more digital future.
Yeah, and I don't really know. I'm sure the economics behind this, there's probably, a follow the money type trail behind why subscription services are so popular and stuff like that. At the same time, I know like Xbox Game Pass is just bleeding money. And I think part of the reason is, like a lot of companies, when you break into a market, you spend a ton of money because then you carve out an ownership of that market, and then you can start to rake that back years down the road or something like that. I think that's partially what Xbox Game Pass is doing.
Well, Ubisoft, that and Xbox
is connected to Microsoft.
Can afford to hemorrhage money.
Yes.
Because every other company that exists licenses out software from Microsoft and server storage.
Yeah, so and that's part of the equation too, and that's why Epic can hand out free games and stuff like that, because they can just burn money and it's fine. And that's because of Fortnite and a bunch of other reasons. There's a few things here. We've had this discussion with Google Stadia. I hate when we compare streaming. I understand that people are used to streaming DVDs and songs and music. But I hate when we talk about that as if it's just a natural extension to get to games. Games are technically different because we're talking about a two-way street. When I'm watching Parks and Rec, I do not control Leslie Knope or Ben Wyatt. I don't give them input. So nothing has to go back to wherever the fuck the show is being sent to me, right? It's a one-way street. And when you bring that up, what you're bringing up is the speed of light, right? Because that's as fast as something can go in a cable, unless humanity comes up with a way to accelerate
quantum cables,
tiny wormholes inside of the cable.
Yeah, unless we get quantum entanglement, where we have two particles that reflect one another somehow outside the speed of light. I don't know, but so the technical issue is one thing. The game ownership thing is another. I think I think a lot of people. I don't know if they're comfortable not owning games, but they're used to it. Well, hold on. Owning is different. Not owning a physical copy, I guess. Because technically, you own the digital copies that you buy on Steam or whatever, right? But that's different from having like a physical copy, right? And once we get to game streaming, then you don't even have something on your hard drive at that point, right? You're playing it on I guess what would be a hard drive somewhere else, right? Or a network or something. I'm not sure how that would work on like Google's end or whatever. But that's
it didn't.
Well, yes. But that's like I guess that's somewhat of a separate discussion. But when it comes to preservation and stuff like that, one thing that bothered me a little bit was the part, and I highlighted it for me. Whenever we publish a game, the first thing I do is stream it and play for a couple of minutes. And I guess I find that interesting because why?
If you made it, you have it.
Well, there's that.
To me, that's one that, like, why wouldn't you get a copy?
But not just that. I think the idea is like maybe while it downloads, you can stream it or something. Which is the reason I don't understand this is because when you think about games and you think about starting a game. So when I started, and this is partially why I don't think this guy actually plays video games. And I don't know, maybe he developed games in the past. I'm not familiar with him. So I'm partially being disingenuous there. But when I sat down to play a Plague Tale Requiem, right, I knew that, okay, I'm going to start this game, but I can't. I need to give like an hour and a half because games do not start and have 5-minute intros before you know everything and you can just go do everything, right? Yeah. It's like there's a learning process. There's an intro. If it's Assassin's Creed 3, you have a full day of things you have to learn before you can play the game, right?
Yep.
So it's like, do I want to have that beginning experience streamed? Do I want to deal with the hassles of streaming, especially at the beginning of a game? When you think about how impactful game intros can be, especially single-player games, do you want to leave that up to your internet to dictate that? I don't think so. So I just thought that was a strange thing to say because it's like you're trying to find a reason to stream games that's like besides convenience. And I don't know if there are too many. And I guess convenience is a big umbrella.
I could tell you as someone who streamed Starfield, it's really inconvenient.
And that's partially because the quality of the streams is bad.
Yeah.
You had to wait in a queue a couple times, right?
Yeah, I had to wait in a queue a couple times to actually play the game. But even when I was in the game, occasionally, and this would happen several times while playing, the screen would freeze and then you would just see it scan down and like refreshing itself.
Yeah.
And usually when that would happen, I'd be able to just go into a menu real quick till it sorted itself out, then go back into game. But if it's say like a multiplayer game, that's going to affect your gameplay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would assume that as the technology advances, they're going to find solutions to those things. But I don't know that we would be.
The issue really isn't on their side; it's on the consumer side.
And that's another problem: is that Microsoft cannot fix Connor's internet or Richard's internet or my internet or whatever. Right? They can't fix anything in that path between their servers and my TV. Anything that happens in the middle of that, they likely cannot fix. You know,
I live in an area where the ISP is still sent to us on copper. We're not getting upgraded to fiber.
Yeah, it's Pony Express.
Yeah. So it's So it's not reliable.
Yeah.
And
so just learned that Nixon was ousted as president.
Exactly.
He just learned he resigned.
I just found out that there was a tea party in Boston.
You're like, oh, we're independent now? Well, shit, I got to get rid of my Jolly Roger or whatever, right? Okay, sorry.
That's a pirate flag.
Is that a pirate? What's the British flag?
Union Jack.
It was Roger Jack. One of those. Whatever. July 4th, baby.
What the fuck is a kilometer?
I know 3 things: football, feet, and inches, baby. Hell yeah.
Where was I going with this?
Something about your internet not being great.
Yeah. So I mean, they can like test in house and like get the system running perfectly, but as soon as you give it out to the wider public, you have to deal with the wider public. It probably works great at their development studios.
Yeah.
The streaming is probably phenomenal.
Yeah.
The guy probably does, like he gets an email, hey, we have a new version up, turns around, grabs the controller, streams it. Oh, this is running perfectly. Why don't more people do this? It's because you're in the same fucking building, dude.
Yeah, the accessibility.
Yeah. But and even outside of that, when we get to physical game copies, I think people are much more used to not owning their games physically, and I think that's a complex topic because like games like Squad or Pal World would not be as successful or even possible if they could only market to themselves physically, right? And when we talk about like back in the day, and this is something that I learn more and more about all the time, and it fascinates me, but like back in the day. You had to compete for shelf space, and Nintendo used to do all kinds of stuff, right? They would just buy out shelf space. So
they would buy out, so at the same time, they would also take up that shelf space and keep it there. And if you dared to take it down, they would fuck you over.
So you had all that kind of stuff, right? That had to do with the limitations of physical space. So digital-only games and digital distribution, I think, helped open up new markets that couldn't be there physically because you had companies that were literally taking up all that space and allowed certain genres to flourish where it'd be more difficult for them to flourish, where they had to manufacture physical games and stuff like that. But it's still worrying that games that could be that, I would love to have a physical copy of Alan Wake 2. but that's not going to exist unless they do like a special edition or something.
Yes.
And once they do a special edition, it's going to be pricey, or it's going to be something that is a collector's edition, which maybe is a limited edition, or something like that.
And that may be the problem, because like I said, like they would capitalize off that, because there was Persona 4 Golden and Persona Portable that were just released from Atlas and Sega, and they had no reason to not release it physically. They didn't. It was digital only until Limited Run came in and was like, let's do a physical, and it was exclusive to Limited Run.
And that stuff bothers me.
Yeah, and because they made physical versions of every other game that they did, but these ones all of a sudden they weren't able to, and then the same thing is happening with Hellblade 2.
It's not gonna have physical.
Yeah, I mean it's cool that it's $30 cheaper or $20 cheaper. It's $49.99, but the trade-off for some people.
The economics of it, this is I guess partially what is important to hit on is that there are so many angles to come at this from: game ownership, preservation, game streaming, the quality of game streaming. So that's partially what bothers me when the discussion comes down to, well, you did it with DVDs, so you're going to do it with games. And it's like, no, this is such a different animal. Stop trying to flatten it. And Google Stadia did the same thing. It was, hey, we stream our music, we stream our movies. Doesn't it make sense? No, Google,
they're different
it doesn't. You stop trying to fucking flatten it into this one monolithic thing, even though that doesn't make sense because a monolith stands tall. You don't flatten it, but you know what I mean. So anyway, do we have anything else we want to say about this? I kind of feel like I just want to be more angry about this.
I just want to say, Ubisoft, stop trying to reinvent the wheel and just start making good games again.
That's a good point.
Clear out some of your upper management that probably should be gone after everything that went down.
It's true.
CEO included.
Yves Guillemot was a victim, man. He had his trust. He had his trust betrayed.
Yeah.
And everybody knew about it except for him. He didn't know anything.
Yeah.
Man. Come on.
Well, he can get out. And reinvest in yourselves, get some good management, and start putting out quality games again. Mm-hmm. And when you start putting out quality games, you won't have to rely on turning your games into subscription services to make money.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, another thing about physical media that I think is important, that I guess is similar to preservation is hold on, let me reword this entire thought. What is different, one thing that is different about video games when it comes to physical medium, when it comes to physical copies, is that they are not as viable. They have a shorter time of usability, right? So a DVD from 15 years ago, you can pop into a DVD player, it's going to be fine. Image quality is probably not going to be great, but it's going to work. My DVD of Step Brothers, which I got in 2010 or whatever, I can plug into my PS5. It's fine. It's perfect for Step Brothers. But like physical copies of games from 15 years ago, that's more difficult because you have to play them on older consoles. You have to play them with older controllers. There's going to be, do you have those controllers, hardware degradation and all that kind of stuff. Now, streaming may be a solution there. And PlayStation, that's what PlayStation does, right? You can stream all these old games, but then it's like now all these old things that you once owned, you can only get them through a service that is provided to you rather than having a new copy that you can keep that'll continue working, right? That's a problem. That's another massive problem. But it's another thing to point out how different the worlds are between music and movies and games and how we need to stop treating them like they're the same thing. And Connor, the other thing you pointed out is how bad streaming has been for artists, for authors. It has been too. If you look up some of the shit Amazon has done with Audible, it's straight up villainy. Some of the stuff that Amazon has pulled with Audible to try and force companies into doing their bidding and stuff like that. And
then if you just look at TV and movies, every company has its own streaming service now, and if video games start moving towards a stream-based economy, then you can expect that to happen.
Yeah.
And that's just, again, not good for the consumer.
Yeah. And you're going to have all the same problems. Yeah. So I I'm not super bullish on streaming, and I don't see why the industry is, except for maybe that it's cost effective. Like I'm sure it's expensive for, like, I'm sure Stadia's servers were expensive to run, super expensive. But if you compare that to the budget of like Ubisoft's AAA open world games over the span of a couple of years, are those things comparable? I have no idea. But that would be my guess, is that it's somehow less expensive, because you also don't have to worry about hardware, right? If you're Microsoft or PlayStation and everybody starts streaming games, you don't have to worry about selling a console at a loss, because everyone's playing on a device that is much cheaper that you can just stream to, right? So,
to go into the Stadia running cost of servers versus the development cost, if Ubisoft does go forward with streaming services, they're going to have to start paying for those servers and for the development cost.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I don't know if in a streaming-centric world, I'm not sure. That's a good point. I'm not sure if it would even eat into development costs at all.
It would add to it.
Maybe.
Like in a grander scheme, it would add to it, because the development is going to be essentially the same.
It could be.
Because while we have physical copies still, we still have digital copies. There's really no difference between a digital copy and a streamed copy versus where it's housed.
But if you, okay, well, I'll let you finish your thought.
Well, and that's just going to go into their budget. They're going to have to allocate for how many servers are we going to provide for this game, and they're going to need to. The more games they release, the more server space they're going to need.
Sure.
And so their development cost is going to start to ramp up, and they're going to have to start charging more for these, and it's going to get to the point where you're paying game costs for a streaming service.
And that's a lot of speculation. And the thing that I would speculate is when it comes to like development costs, because I know there are development challenges that come with developing for certain consoles, right?
Yeah.
And that's because you're developing for a specific piece of hardware that's designed a specific way, right? So if you did make something that is planned to go to a server, as opposed, if you made a piece of software that doesn't have to deal with hardware at all, except for your in-house server, I imagine that streamlining has to save you money somehow, right? Like if you're, and that's total speculation. If you're somebody that had to develop a game for the PS3, which required you to like reinvent the laws of physics, as opposed to putting it up on a server somewhere, I would speculate that would cut costs somehow. Maybe when, I don't know. I don't want to speculate too much about the economics. Do we have anything else we want to say?
No.
Move on. No. Okay, Richard.
Apple will now allow outside payments for their apps on the App Store. This is coming in after the Supreme Court refused to consider Apple's appeal of a lower court's ruling. This was first reported by Bloomberg. Apple will allow third-party apps sold in the U.S. to include a link to a developer website to process payments for in-app purchases. This will bypass Apple's 30 and sometimes 15% commission. However, Apple will still charge a 12 or 27% revenue share from the developers that opt out of the Apple system. Stephen Totilo made a list of everything a dev has to do if they want to link to an outside payment. Devs have to apply for an entitlement that, among other things, proves that they are using a legit third-party payment service provider, must still offer in-app purchases, can't discourage users from making in-app purchases, must tell users before they hit the link that Apple is not responsible for privacy and security purchases made on the web, can only offer the link once in the app and not in a pop-up nor in any parts of the app where a user is trying to make an in-app purchase, and they cannot mention alternate payment options on their app's listing on the App Store. Tim Sweeney from Epic says that they will challenge this in court.
Yeah, challenge all the little
stipulations.
All the little stipulations, which someone at Aftermath wrote was super petty, and I agree.
Yeah.
It's very petty. So a few things. This ongoing saga is just, I don't know, it's just one of the, it's like, it really is like the real life Succession, because it is very petty. It is kind of pathetic to see it happen. Tim Sweeney does kind of remind me of like a somehow lamer version of Kindle. Any of you Succession heads out there? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe Connor. Maybe not totally Kindle. Maybe Connor. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Just clarify. Connor Roy, not me, Connor.
Yeah, Connor Roy. Yeah, not you. So I do think it's. I always want to bring up that it's terrifying to think that this is all about microtransactions. This entire thing, this entire battle, can be reduced to
V-Bucks
and boosters for Candy Crush or whatever, and just meaningless purchases.
Rolls for Monopoly Go.
That we have this thing that people have made, this new human phenomenon that has been constructed in the past 20 years, and it has been ground to a fine like factory. And here we are, and that's kind of terrifying. I do think that I don't remember what the justification. I think it was that Apple, the judge found that Apple didn't have a monopoly, but that they couldn't force you not to direct users outside. I think that was the delineation there. And I am not a huge fan of Epic or Tim Sweeney, but yeah, the 30% cut, that is the industry standard. And it's a little more complicated than that, because I think like with Steam, after you make like so much money, that goes down or something after you make like,
does it?
I think with Steam, yeah. But I do wonder, like, does Steam need that anymore? Could they take that down to a 25% cut or a 20% cut?
They probably could, because I don't know if you saw the note, but that I think it was last year they made over $1 billion off of Counter-Strike alone. So
just Counter-Strike?
Yeah, just the cases from Counter-Strike.
Yeah, which is
going to say this, put this out there. I think we should just let Steam have this, because it's the only thing they're ever going to put out with a 3 in it.
And I do wonder if once this dust settles, if Valve isn't next, right? Because Valve, I guess, doesn't hold the same type of monopoly, but I don't know. If you really wanted to be litigious about it, if you really wanted to be litigious about it, and once Tim Sweeney is done getting into slap fights with Apple lawyers, could he not turn around and just do it to Valve?
It's very interesting, because it's kind of although Valve themselves not only, of course, obviously sell games, but they house your library as well. They aren't the only place to buy games. You do have Geo, and I think that's why like people aren't as up in arms over Steam, because they're not really a monopoly. But, there are people, of course, who don't like their methods. But if somebody wanted to change that, like, what was it? Oh, well, like, no, that's not a good example. But remember, it was Detention, I think, that was on GOG before it got taken down, the red letter games or whatever. Yes.
Red Candle, I think.
Yeah. But if, like, let's say Witcher 4 wanted to just release solely on GOG, you could buy it from GOG, but you get the code that you can redeem on Steam. Like, how does... I guess that wouldn't work, because Steam would still want the money. Anyway, I don't know what I'm saying. But basically what I was saying, I was just stating that probably nobody's come after Valve because of the reasons they aren't the only place to get games.
It is a little bit more of a competitive market, because GOG, and I guess maybe the important thing is like GOG is also, as far as I have experienced, is a fine working storefront. I haven't played too many games on GOG, but the games that I have played seems to work fine.
You don't play on GOG because it's DRM free, so you just
well, that's true.
You're just a launcher.
And then Epic, things work
well enough,
I guess.
There's also Amazon Prime's, or Twitch's, Amazon Twitch's thing, whatever they have.
But that functionality was not universal. EA's Origin was horrible. Uplay was a joke. Horrible.
It's still a joke.
There's other launchers out there that suck. There's a bunch of the Rockstar launcher is. There's two Rockstars. There's the Rockstar that makes incredible stories that stay with you for the rest of your life, and there's the Rockstar that's like ran by a bunch of chipmunks. and that's the Rockstar that made.
That's the Take-Two side of Rockstar.
It's like Strauss Zelnick hopped up on I don't know what's a supplement. I want to keep making supplement jokes.
HGH.
Yeah, there you go. He's just down at. You shoot HGH? Do you drink it? I don't know.
Both.
He's doing both. Ask Andy Pettit. You just drink HGH. He just grounds it into.
He's shooting up. He's drinking it. He's storing it any way he can get it.
Oh man. Anyway, what are we even talking about anymore? Okay,
Video games, apparently.
So in this story, nobody's a good guy. I don't like Apple's stance. Epic's stance is better, but it's just because it's like one villain who wants to make all the other villains fight on the same level he's fighting. So that's basically it. And yeah, I it's important to update, and we can move on. Did you have something you wanted to say? Sorry.
No, I lost it. Whatever. It was going to be a joke, so it's not important.
I like your jokes.
Thank you. I mean, but to the discussion, it's not important.
Oh, okay. Okay, fine. All right. We're going to talk. Usually we have Richard do the Circana numbers at the end of the podcast when we have them. But I wanted to open up the top 10 selling video games of 2023. Circana released two different lists. The top 10 selling games of December, which we won't get into too much unless you guys want to talk about it. Well, the one I'm more interested in is the top 10 selling video games, retail and digital, year-to-date 2023. So if I understand correctly, this is the top 10 selling games last year.
Mm-hmm.
And this is retail and digital, which is physical and digital.
Yes, for the most part.
So, and usually companies don't release both numbers straight away, right?
Nintendo doesn't.
Do all companies do mostly? They do?
Yeah. They do.
I'm stupid then. I always thought for some reason that one number or the other was held back.
The only exception on here is MLB The Show 23, which it appears that Nintendo and Xbox did not provide digital numbers.
Okay, interesting. So we'll go. So yeah, top 10 selling games of 2023. Number 10 was EA Sports FC. Number 9 was Jedi Survivor. 8 was Mortal Kombat 1. 7 was Modern Warfare 2 from 2022. 6 was Diablo 4. 5 was Tears of the Kingdom. And as Richard pointed out, digital sales not included. 4 was Spider-Man 2. 3 was Madden NFL 24. 2 was Modern Warfare 3. And then number 1 was Hogwarts Legacy, which I think is stunning that it beat out Call of Duty. I'm not sure how often that happens at Call of Duty.
Never. The last time was Rock Band 1.
Are you serious? Yes. Holy crap. Okay,
yeah, that was a part of the Circana numbers that I was going to announce. But
so I think
no, I didn't. Sorry, I know I delivered it that way, but that's not how I was supposed to deliver it.
I didn't even catch what you said. I'm sorry.
No, because when I stated that it was a rock band, I was like, yeah, those are the numbers I was going to give later on. It was just very but I didn't mean to deliver it in that sad tone.
Sound ejected. Oh, it was great. 10 out of 10.
Okay, so I just kind of wanted to break down this list because I think it's interesting. So you have EA Sports at 10, Madden at 3, COD at 2, and 7. So there's 4 games there that you can just toss out because they can just be bad and they're going to sell, right? So
unfortunately, yeah.
So they are not indicative of quality or demand. They're just indicative of, it's like McDonald's.
Yeah.
It's just part of the fabric of society.
But that's also indicative of the problems we're having now.
Yes,
like
that's
as far
true.
as the microtransactions and the streaming and all of that. So.
But the reason I make that argument is because I think it's important to distinguish between real demand for things that are for art and entertainment that is good and just ambient nothingness that sells because of reasons that are beyond like actual desire for quality things, right? And I think that's an important distinction to make because if you are an executive like Strauss Zelnick, you look at this list and it's all the same thing. It's all the same slush to you, which bothers me because I think there is an interesting story here because you do have a couple single player games. You've got Hogwarts Legacy, Spider-Man 2, Tears of the Kingdom. Mortal Kombat 1's not really a single player game, kind of.
You're right. It's a
fighting game.
There are people who play and who buy and play it for the story.
And then you have Jedi Survivor, which is up there. Diablo 4 is not a single player game, but it's the only, besides Call of Duty and the sports games, it's the only
multiplayer game,
like multiplayer live service game on here, right? Besides COD and the sports games. So what I think we see here is lots of single player games and a bunch of other games that sell because they have a connection to casual markets, being sports games, right? Mm-hmm. So what should that tell the industry about what people want to buy and what people are excited for?
That players don't want single player cowboy games.
Thank you, Connor.
Yes.
That is basically my main takeaway from this list. I think it's important to point that out. I would be fascinated to know how much better Tears of the Kingdom would do with digital sales.
Yes, I agree. It's also wild to see that 3 of the top 10 games are Activision Blizzard games as well.
Yeah.
But also, I guess the same can be said for EA games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good year for them.
Yeah, but we are... It is great to see a lot of single player games on the top 10, but once again, it's kind of... I'm not going to use the word disheartening, but it's nothing different. Does that make sense?
Yes.
They are the hit games every time they get released. There's nothing like, and I understand why not, but there's nothing like Hi-Fi Rush on here or what's another good game? Well, I would say something like Final Fantasy 16, but that was actually number 16. So I have the full 20 list here. Yeah.
Oh shoot. Where is Alan Wake 2 anywhere on there?
God, no.
Oh man. Okay.
Well, it released at the very end. So
it did.
It released in October.
And it's more of a
digital
niche thing.
Digital
Digital
only. And also nobody really started buying or playing that game until Game Awards.
Okay. Damn. Yeah. All
right. But at number 11, we have Starfield. Number 12, we have Super Mario Brothers Wonder, which also did not have digital sales. So it could be higher. Number 13 is Resident Evil 4. 14 is MLB The Show 23. Number 15 is Dead Island 2. Number 16 is Final Fantasy 16. Number 17 is Street Fighter 6. Number 18 is Elden Ring. Number 19, Mario Kart 8. And number 20, Minecraft.
Okay, so that's even more interesting because again, you have other single player games, and then you have the other like background slush that's always going to be there.
Yeah. Mario Kart 8 has sold over 50 million copies.
And it just keeps going.
I don't have it in my stores. I don't have it in my store. Where is this game? Same with Smash Brothers as well.
Game's 10 years old.
Yes, it is. Yeah. 2013. Came out in 2013.
So
technically, right? 2013, 2014? Yeah, 2014.
Getting into specific gripes I have about the list. Hogwarts, which
it's a damn good game,
we can preface this real quick. Oh, Mario Kart 8?
Yeah.
It is.
It is a fun game.
Preface this real quick. J.K. Rowling's a bigot.
Of course.
Set that to the side. Transphobic bigot. She's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
If you are David Zaslav, the CEO of Warner Brothers, right?
Uh-huh.
Who is the Logan Roy of video game executives. And you've been touting this Suicide Squad game, which is attached to a developer that is known for creating perhaps the best superhero video game of all time. If you want to count whatever Batman Arkham, you can. I don't think that's unreasonable to say, right? Mm-hmm. Spider-Man fans may say otherwise. That's reasonable too. They were very good. And you move them on to a live service, always on recurrent spending model, right? And the game that sold most in the year that Suicide Squad started to pick up steam was a single player game with no microtransactions. What should that tell you as a CEO about what you can do with your IPs that you have under your protection, under your ownership, whatever? And I don't know if Zaslav, how much specifically, I'm just naming him because no one likes him, but just as Warner Brothers executives in general, what does that tell you about your decisions in previous years that led up to where Suicide Squad is now and what Rocksteady is doing now, right? Suicide Squad has been in development for a long time. This was not something that they just started like last week or anything like that. But still, what we have here is an example of demand for one thing that may not have a massive monetization tail, and they see that there's financial evidence for that, but it's just going to pivot to live service stuff, which is a roll of the dice, and you're not sure if it's going to work, and it could be bad. That's infuriating as hell. The other thing I have about a specific game is Star Wars Jedi Survivor. The Star Wars Jedi games are not the typical Jedi third-person action games that I think people imagine. I think if you asked people, they'd probably rather have something closer to a hack and slash, because I don't know, the Souls-like formula can be divisive sometimes. Now the games themselves really aren't. They're not nearly as hard as Dark Souls, but just the formula and the structure, a lot of people aren't huge fans of. But that aside, EA for so long did such a horrible fucking job with the Star Wars IP, and and we get like a couple Star Wars single player Star Wars games a year, one a year maybe, I don't know. And this one, which came out riddled with bugs and performance issues, and it's still in the top 10 of games selling. It's almost as if there is demand for single player Star Wars games, and the investment that's being put into that is extremely low, and that's really frustrating because again, you're seeing demand for one thing, and that's what executives are always so been out of shape about: demand and consumer demand. And well, here's the demand, but it's not the demand for the thing that they want to sell, for the thing that they think will sell well and create recurrent spending and all that other bullshit. So
there's one key factor that you're forgetting when it comes to the CEOs. They're out of touch with what is going on.
Well, see, I don't know, man. I think that's partially true. I also think they just don't give a shit. I think there are people that just see their business one way and want to hammer it and force it, almost like they're a blacksmith. Hold it over the coals and then hammer and anvil it into a specific shape. Even though it's not going to.
And it's weird because the thing should be reversed. I agree with Connor. It's like these guys are out of touch and they don't understand why people like these things. And Hogwarts Legacy, in my opinion, had every right to be the microtransaction game. Like the ability to customize your wizard or sorceress or whatever, and then the ability to gain all of these new things in a world where that happens, like that should have been the key draw. Whereas we look at Suicide Squad, and it's puzzling that it is a microtransaction-based game because superheroes are not known for customization. They are known for having their like singular
distinct
thing.
look.
Yeah, they're known for not using guns and zipping around. And so it should have been the reverse, and it isn't. But I do know that like Hogwarts Legacy is 90% attributed to its own fandom.
Yes.
It is a solid enough game, but it is not. People didn't buy it because they knew it was going to be a solid enough game. They bought it because it was Harry Potter and they like that universe and that world. It's already transcended its creator, in my opinion, and people don't buy it because of their creator. They buy it because of the world. And that's why Hogwarts Legacy hit so bad. But with something like Suicide Squad that we're going to get, I think the whole concept is going to fall flat on its face, much like Gotham Knights did, to an extent. And
I forgot about Gotham Knights.
Yeah, and much like Avengers did as well. And it's just something that's not attractive to consumers, whereas something like Spider-Man 2 is attractive to consumers because it is that exact thing that people want. They just want a good story based in the world with that singular character. If you do have multiple characters, that's fine, but they need to be as they are and not necessarily. I mean, you can customize them with outfits like Batman did and like Spider-Man did, but that's where they were just nods. They weren't like collectibles. So that's what's frustrating about Suicide Squad with its customization and everything. But I know we're not talking about that. We're talking about the top 10 list here.
Okay, that's all I wanted to say about the top 10 list. Connor, is there anything you want to throw in here? No.
I still want to give Dead Island 2 a shot. I'm very surprised at the success of that game this year.
Yeah.
But I know people are also starved for something similar to Dying Light.
Mm-hmm.
That was surprisingly very good.
All right, let's do tidbits. What if I told you, in this world, there are bits, and there are tids, and Richard is the only man who can put them together into tidbits?
I'm going to do the reverse since we are with
Circana for now.
Circana for now.
Circana
So I'm going to give Circana numbers now.
Okay.
They're taken, as always,
Richard is trained.
verbatim,
We can do this.
verbatim from Mr. Matt Piscatella, who we should become friends with.
I mean, we should.
On the show
He
next week.
likes baseball, so
Yeah, we can talk.
spring training's coming up.
What
Just invite
team is Matt Piscatella a fan of?
him. Giants.
Oh, San Francisco Giants. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I can respect that. I don't hate the Giants.
He's a big Giants fan.
Okay.
I'm gonna message him and be like, "Hey, I got a friend. His name is Tyler. Just say you love Longhorns. Just like go and slide in his DMs and be like, Longhorns forever, baby."
You're banned. Do we have Don LaGreca?
No.
Damn it. I'll go full Don LaGreca. You're banned.
Filthy human piece
There
of
it is.
garbage.
There we go.
December 23 video game. Annual U.S. spending on video game content, hardware, and accessories reached $57.2 billion in 2023, an increase of 1% when compared to 22. December spending grew 4% to $7.9 billion. Video game content spending ended 1% higher than 2022, driven by a 13% increase in digital premium download spending, full game spending specifically on console platforms. The numbers don't lie. This is a losing battle, guys. Hogwarts Legacy finished. Oh, well, we already talked about that. Oh, well, no. I can give this tidbit. Finished as 2023's best-selling video game in the U.S. market in dollar sales. It is the first year since 2008 that a non-Call of Duty or Rockstar-developed title ranked first. It was Rock Band.
Man, that's some powerful stuff right there.
It is, yeah. Won't talk about Hogwarts. Won't talk about Call of Duty. Won't talk about Zelda. Best-selling... Tears of the Kingdom is best-selling game of 23 on Nintendo platforms and the fifth best-selling game overall, despite Nintendo not sharing its digital sales for inclusion in best-selling title charts. Assholes. Fortnite featured highest unique monthly active users on both PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series consoles in the US market during December, while Lethal Company ranked first on Steam. 36% of active PS5 players is up from 31% in November, and 31% of active Series players is up from 28% in November. They all played Fortnite at least once during December. I did. I played Fortnite.
I did not.
I gotta get Snake. Gotta get him.
Wait, do you have to get Snake somehow?
He's in the battle pass, so
Oh, jeez.
you gotta battle pass it. I logged on. I was like, I gotta get Snake. I logged on, and I just happened to have 1,000 V-Bucks, and I was like, here, boom.
I'm kidding. I'm
give
not
it.
judging you. It's fine.
I originally had V-Bucks only because I wanted RoboCop, and I got RoboCop. That was months ago.
Does RoboCop actually walk around like RoboCop and
Yeah, and
RoboCop
then
in
he shoots like
Fortnite? There's just like 12-year-olds, and he's like, freeze, bam!
Dead or alive, you're coming with me.
Can you vibe?
And vibe.
Sorry. I know you may not be a fan of that, but that's like one of your all-time moments.
And it's funny because I don't even do it as good as my other friend does. So it's just funny. Inclusion in subscription offerings again helped several titles see big boosts in active user counts in December on PlayStation 5. Power Wash Simulator ranked 9th in monthly active users. It's cathartic. In December,
it is very fun,
yes,
though.
it is, yeah. Up from 318 in November. On Xbox Series consoles, Goat Simulator bounded from 245th to 7th.
Wait, which Goat Simulator?
Goat Simulator 3.
I was gonna say
Which
the
is
first
Goat
one?
Simulator 2. They just named it 3.
Okay. Have we talked about the greatest video game trailer of all time?
The Goat Simulator trailer?
Oh, riffing off of the
Dead
Island,
because the
one.
Dead Island trailer was so obnoxious
Yeah.
and like
Pretentious.
ridiculous.
I don't get it. I really don't. But whatever.
And what do you?
Oh, just why everybody loves that trailer. Like,
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
Like
I
I mean,
thought-
I
I
know
thought you were gonna
why.
disagree with me.
No. I don't like. It's weird.
Well, because it's completely opposite of the mood of the game.
Yes.
The mood of the game is like, whoa, this is crazy, a rap star and all these people
Yeah,
are
hooty
on an
voodoo,
island
bitch.
and there's there's zombies and bikinis, whoa.
Yeah.
and the trailer is like the entire trailer is just Oscar bait, the entire thing, right?
Yeah.
And so it's amazing. I go back and I watch that Goat Simulator
which is also very weird because it's like that trailer is also a huge like the consistency is terrible because it's like the little girl is being like chased by zombies and like the door opens and her parents are like in here and it's like, well, why weren't you with the parents in the first place? And it's like, why did like wait
because they're bad parents.
Yes, yeah, right, exactly. And it's weird. Anyways, where am I at here? Video game hardware spending ended 2023 flat versus the year average at 6.6 billion. December hardware spending reached 1.6 billion, an increase of 4% when compared to December of 22. Growth in Xbox Series and PS5 hardware dollar sales offset a double-digit percentage decline for Nintendo Switch. It's because the new one's coming out, baby.
Everyone's
this year.
getting ready.
This
Everyone's
year.
preparing.
Do you see the like conversation? The rumor is that the Nintendo Switch is going to be like on par. The Switch 2, quote unquote. This is all in quotes. The Switch 2 is going to be on par with PS4 graphics.
No, I didn't see that.
So there that rumor floated around, and of course I'm on Twitter because I hate myself. Yeah, hate myself, and the whole thing was just like, are you kidding me? It's only going to be as powerful as PS5, and everybody was like posting photos of Ghost of Tsushima and Final Fantasy VII. And it's like, this is PS4 graphics. You know that, right?
Well, it's not only that, but Nintendo has never. This is why I'm not on Twitter. That's why I'm not on Twitter because it's like. The people that experience things for the first time, they complain about things that they're experiencing for the first time on Twitter. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You know, it's like, that's a good example. It's like they're just now learning. And listen, everyone in their life has to learn that Nintendo's game is not making hardware that blows you out of the water.
No, never has been.
Someone has to learn. You have to learn that at some point in your life. Mm-hmm. So not everybody knows. Yeah. But just don't go on Twitter and verbalize and like put it to text, please. But because it's so yes, and clearly if you know this, you know that PS4 level graphics, that's not half bad.
It's incredible. Yes.
Maybe I'll wait to play Tears of the Kingdom until
that's Steam Deck graphics, baby.
Yeah, that's not half bad. The reaction is not, you're not going to have a handheld with detachable controllers that can fit the entire PS5 and a tiny screen. What the hell, bro?
Yeah.
Clearly that's not the. See, this is like Twitter infection. Yeah. You see something stupid on Twitter, you tell somebody about it. It's so infuriating that the person that just hears about it through that vine gets infuriated. I'm going to toss you out a window now.
Accessory spending finished the year 4% higher than a year ago at $2.6 billion. Guess what was the most sold accessory?
Accessory?
Yeah.
Of all
year. Wait, sorry, what did you just say?
Accessory spending finished the year at 4% higher than a year ago at $2.6 billion.
PS5 controller.
Damn, that was too fast.
Well, it's because they cost $8,000 a piece.
That's good.
That's also true. And then stick drift. Planned obsolescence, baby. December 23 accessory spending was 14% higher than in December of 2022 at $584 million. That's it. Gamepad's primary reason for the increase. But I do. This is just my I just think people don't know how to play with their goddamn controllers. I think I told this story before, but there was a guy who.
No, that's 100% the case because our niece has issue with stick drift on her Joy-Cons all the time, and I've dropped mine several times on their face, and I have no issues with stick drift.
Yeah. And then I think I told the story before, but there was a guy who came in. He came in like 3 times in one day because I kept giving him control. I was like, dude, this controller's works. I just tested it and come back. It doesn't work. And I'm like, okay, well, what? Last time he came back, I was like, I'm sorry. He's like, well, I'll come back when I have an official one and switch it out for you. And he left. And I tested the controller and it worked perfectly fine. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And I just kind of squeezed it because I was just like, whatever. And when I squeezed it hard, it started flipping out. And I was like, oh, you're manhandling your controller. Is what it
weird.
Because my wife's controller has drift and it's messing up and everything. But mine's is perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. But I know that I hear her sometimes because it doesn't do what she wants. Sometimes blah blah blah, and I'm like that's probably why, And my I got a friend who admits that when he gets stressed, he'll twist the controller a little bit. And I'm like, okay, well this is why. This is why controllers are breaking.
I definitely don't do that.
I don't know. I barely hold my controller because I don't need to grip it. Like it just sits in your hand. Anyways, that's it for Circana numbers. Got a couple tidbits here.
Yay.
The first ever Megami Tensei game has been translated to English. Megami Tensei, Shin Megami Tensei. You may know it from the Persona series and other series like Digital Devil Saga, etc., etc. It actually comes from a series of novels. So they're based off a series of novels. And the very first game was made by Telenet in 1987, developed for the MSX computer. And it was an action RPG. It wasn't like what we have now, like JRPG. So yeah, that was just translated to English for the first time ever. So it's really great. Yeah, preservation. Yay. Rock Band 4 DLC will no longer release content as of January 25th. After 8 years of weekly releases, Rock Band 4 will halt DLC releases on the platform as they make their way over to Fortnite Festival. Over the years, Rock Band has released over 3,000 songs as DLC since its incarnation in the late 2000s. Of an era for sure.
Yep.
But now, what's up?
Oh, I was just going to say, it's kind of weird to think about how popular that explosion of like rhythm-based games was.
It's back, baby.
You had a bunch of Rock Band, you had the Rocksmith series.
Yeah.
And then it kind of went away.
Because of Activision.
Is that why? I'm not familiar with like the story why. I always assumed it had to do with like the license to music and stuff like that.
So it's a little bit of that, but let me try to paint the picture. 4 Rock Band games since 2008.
Yeah.
Rock Band 1, Rock Band 2, 3, and 4. Fourth one releasing in I think 20. That's a pretty good span. From 2005, Guitar Hero 1, Guitar Hero 2, 3, World Tour, Metallica, Van Halen, Aerosmith,
Beatles.
Oh no, that's Rock Band. Sorry, I forgot.
Oh, was that Rock Band?
Okay. Smash Hits.
There's DJ Hero. That's not
DJ Hero 2. Yeah, no, that belongs in that family. It was oversaturation and constant releases. Then everybody was just like, I'm done. And then, of course, we were done as companies because we were like, we don't want to take these plastic instruments because they're just sitting around. So everybody either does one of two things, donates them or throws them away. Then 10 years later, when they decide, oh, wow, Guitar Hero was so dope, I want to go play that again. Guess what? They don't make those guitars anymore. They haven't in years. And now that Xbox One, well, Rock Band 4 came out and they were like, hey, Rock Band 4 on the new consoles. But everybody was like, we're done.
Yeah,
like,
if I remember correctly, they tried to. I think they did a Kickstarter to get that onto PC, and I don't think it was funded.
They probably did, but anyways, those like Xbox One and PS4 guitars are now like over $140 because nobody bought them in the first place for Rock Band 4. So, but now people are buying them again because of Clone Hero, which is a PC Guitar Hero.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you have Rock Band stuff, don't you?
I have an
360
old drum set for the Xbox One.
So you could play it. You could play Clone Hero if you wanted.
Interesting.
Anyways, yeah, it's a freeware program. Every single song. Just ever.
Awesome. Hell yeah.
Put it and custom songs, of course.
Cool.
Yeah. And then, of course, now Fortnite Festival. Fortnite Festival, there will be an update to use those instruments on Fortnite, for Fortnite Festival. And then a PDP, which is a third-party accessory creator, posted an image of a silhouette of a guitar, and they're like, hey, coming soon. So
oh boy,
we're doing it again, baby.
So things are picking up, huh?
Yeah,
things are picking up. Okay.
And then my last one, which I already discussed, but Power World has sold more than 5 million copies in less than 2 days. Incredible.
Yep. And it seems like every year we get a game like this now. I can't think of any others because that's how my brain works. But the phenomenon I know exists.
Lethal Company is
Lethal Company is one. When not Chivalry, but the other game that's
Mordhau?
When Mordhau came out, it got so popular that the servers were just getting annihilated.
Squad's a popular one.
I know there's other. I was just gonna let that go. You know what? I told you about this rule. My games are games for men, okay?
I'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.